Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another cooking time of genuine dishes. Today, since we are in the middle of winter, even though it's 74 degrees today, it's still considered winter. I'm going to show you how to make a winter squash risotto. So those of you that don't know, risotto is an Italian rice, and you can buy it right in the grocery stores. Risotto is an Italian rice. It's very short grain. It comes from the Piedmont section in Italy, which is up in the north. So it's a hearty dish. They're known up there for their hearty dishes because of the weather. So it's very short grained. It's oval shaped instead of the long white rice that we are used to here in America. And when you cook it, it stays kind of chewy. So that's why people are kind of a little bit intimidated by cooking our, risotto, because of the time it takes and of the procedure, because it takes a lot of liquid to cook it down and you have to stay right with it. You cannot walk away. But I'm about to show you how you can change that today. I'm about to show you a different way to make risotto. So we're going to make it with a butternut squash, and we're going to add turkey sausage and a little kale to it. And of course, Parmesan cheese. We always have to have that. So in my casserole dish here, I already have browning some turkey sausage and a little bit of olive oil. It was about 3 tablespoons full. And I have that browning, and I wanted to show you, just in case you might think, well, I can't find ground sausage. Well, it doesn't always come ground. That is true. You can get it right like this in the links, in the casing, and you just take your knife and you go down it gently, and then you just separate it, and this casing will come right off. And that's it. That's all you do for the ground turkey. So just put in a casing. That's all the links are. And so let me get a cloth for my hands here. Okay, and so we're just going to add this to it and brown it up. And I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper to it. This is turkey sausage is very lean. So it really doesn't give off that much cooking grease when it's in the pan. So that's why I added about 2 to 3 tablespoons full. And of course, I'll always put the recipe up on my Facebook page. And I always love, people tag me in posts and they make the recipes and send me pictures, and I really love it. It's just really encouraging, and I thank everybody for that. So I'm going to add a little bit of pepper. We're going to season as we go, because everything we're using today has to be seasoned. Okay, and to this, I'm going to wipe this off, and I'm going to put in a shallot. This is going to give it good flavor, but again, an onion may be a little overpowering for the ingredients that we're using today, so a shallot goes really well. I've already peeled it and took the skin off, and I'll move kind of this stuff out of the way so you can see. All right, and we're just going to chop up our shallot. It doesn't have to be in real small pieces, because by the time everything works together, these are going to be all softened and edible. Okay, we're going to put 1/2 in. We're going to use the entire shallot here. And we'll just flip it this way. And I'm really super proud of this shallot, I have to say, because I grew it in my garden. Last year, I grew shallots and garlic, and they did really well. It was like maybe my second time doing it. So I dried them all. I had them all hanging up in the garage by a string so they could cure. And now I'm ready to use them. So I don't even have to go and look for a shallot. I just have them already in my pantry. I just take them out of the basket. All right, so we're cooking this up, and to this pan, in a minute, we're going to add our butternut squash, which is also like a winter squash. And they call it that because you can actually grow butternut squash still in a region like this. Believe it or not, in my garden, I have carrots, broccoli, cabbage growing, all my herbs still, except for the basil. So I'm very lucky that I'm in this harvest zone. Okay, so that's cooking up nicely. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. But I want you to know I am going to add a liquid to this. So over here on the stove, I have about 2½ cups of chicken stock, and it's on low, like a simmer. Because when we're going to add it to the pan, we don't want it to be cold and take down the temperature. We want to keep it all the same. So we're going to be adding warm liquid to this. All right, so we've got our sausage here with the shallot heating up in the pan, and it breaks up really easy because it's very lean, but you don't want it too ground up. You want to be able to have some of that turkey flavor. Okay, and next I'm going to put in butternut squash. I left it in this container because I wanted to show you how easy it is now to get butternut squash. This was in the produce section of my grocery store, and it's all done for you. Simple. I mean, you can use this in soups as a side dish, anything you want to. So I said, well, you know what? I'm gonna make the risotto with it instead of getting a butternut squash and having to peel it and cut it all up, because we know they can be kind of difficult sometimes to cut. So I'm putting in some butternut squash. I'm just going to put in roughly a cup and a half. Now, what I don't use here, we know who will eat later. He absolutely loves butternut squash. So Pepe has been enjoying what I'm making. Okay, and we're going to brown all of this up. Now, believe it or not, these don't take all that long to cook. I was very fooled by them when I first did it because I thought, oh God, they're like a potato. They're going to take a long time, but they really don't. So we're going to put those in. And as they're softening, believe it or not, we're going to add the arborio rice right in here. And I don't know if any of you have ever made like rice-a-roni. When I remember as like in my, maybe my teens or whatever, if I wanted like a quick snack for myself, I made rice-a-roni. And they would make you put the rice-a-roni in the pan and brown it. And it's such a great idea. So we're just going to put in 1 cup of arborio rice. This is going to go a long way. And I'm going to put it right in with this. And I'm going to start to brown this up. And it's going to start getting that toasty flavor to it. I'm going to put this in the pan just like this. And we're going to let it toast up for a minute. And then I'm going to get over here. I'm going to bring over my chicken stock. So this is a low sodium chicken stock. I like to always, control my salt. I was raised with a mom who didn't cook with salt. So, I just always learn to season things as I go. And as you see now, the risotto is starting to brown a little bit just from this pan. And that's what you want. You want that toasty flavor of it. And we're going to deglaze this pan now with some white wine. And we're just going to put in probably about a half of a cup. And that's a great sound you want to hear. It's taking all the brown bits off the bottom. And this wine gives it such a great flavor. I didn't realize it after I made this yesterday. It was the first time I made it. How I come about my recipes, because people always ask me that. They're like, well, how did you come up with this? I have so many cookbooks in my office that I'll just sit there and I'll read them in the evening, during the day with a cup of coffee or whatever. And if I see something I like, I think to myself, well, how can I make it genuine? How can I make it my own? Because it's easy to get a recipe and make it. And yes, that's a great thing to make things homemade. But to make it your own, you have to change a few things. So when I saw a butternut squash risotto, I added the turkey meat and I'm going to add the kale. So it makes it genuine. It makes it my own. Okay, so to this now, I'm going to add the chicken stock. And we're going to put that in there. And I know what you're thinking, wow, that's a lot of liquid. But we have to remember now, risotto takes liquid to cook. So we're going to put that in. And then we're also going to add in 1/4 cup of heavy cream. And that's going to give it like a really velvety, luscious flavor. It makes it a little bit more deep in flavor. I mean, who doesn't love heavy cream? All right, and then I'm going to add a little bit of sage. I should have added this before. I apologize. I probably should have added this in with the sausage, but I overlooked it and I apologize. So I'm going to try to stir the sage in, and it'll all work together. And I'm stirring this around. I'm going to add in my kale, and that's 2.5 cups of shredded. Look how shredded it is, because kale can get really big. And I'm going to stir this in. Look how pretty it looks already. All right. And the last little thing I'm going to put in here for some flavor, of course, is some cheese. Here we go. And I have some pecorino romano. It's a little bit salty, so it's going to go really well with the sweet butternut squash and the wine. We're going to mix it all together. There we go. And guess what? I'm going to cover it. I'm going to cover it and I'm going to let it go for 20 minutes. Yes, I'm going to open the lid and I'm going to check on it in a little bit and I'm going to stir it around and make sure it's not sticking. But this is the easiest way that you can make risotto like this. And we're just going to let this go for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, look what you get. This beautiful dish. Can I just tell you, when I tasted this dish yesterday, I was blown away myself. Look at, this is exactly how it finished in the pan. You have the rice and the sausage, the butternut squash, the kale's all cooked. Everything is amazing. So I'm going to show you guys. I'm just going to garnish it again with just a tiny bit of cheese on the top. And yesterday, I had my son, he's my taste tester. So I had him taste it yesterday and he was really impressed with it. So this is a great way to make risotto. If you wanted to add mushrooms in here, you could have put them in with the sausage. If you wanted to substitute the squash, if you didn't like it, you could substitute with mushroom and do it with turkey. But it's so good, guys. Like, the whole thing marries together in here. And I do taste the wine flavor, but it's so good with the butternut squash. And then the turkey sausage is just so good with it. It's such a great one pot meal. So don't be intimidated with risotto, arborio rice risotto. Go ahead and pick it up and make you a great meal. I will have the recipe posted on my Facebook page. And don't forget to check out my YouTube channel.